Hi guys, welcome to the FOB podcast. I'm Danny Lomas and I'll be your host moving forward throughout the remainder of the episodes. As a precursor to episode 1, I'd just really like to introduce myself and explain the direction of this channel so you know what you're getting yourself into. So, I was a Royal Marines Commando for just under 8 years, from 2006, leaving in 2013. I took part in 3 operational tours of Afghanistan. I'm trained in every environment on the planet. And it was realistically and honestly one of the best times of my life. On leaving, I joined the private security industry. I worked specifically within the anti-piracy sector, where I would travel on board both commercial and private shipping vessels through areas of known piracy off the coast of Oman, East Africa, the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, surrounding areas. And over the last 15, 16 years, I feel in a good position to be able to talk about stress in stressful and extreme jobs. And that's where we are in terms of the direction of this channel. We're going to have people on here from the emergency services, the military, first responders, that's doctors, paramedics, firefighters, police, military staff and veterans. And as we move into episode 1, we've got Rick Coulson. He's a close personal friend of mine and also a Royal Marines Commando Veteran himself. We work closely together in Afghanistan. And in this episode, he's going to be speaking about his why he joined the military, his time in the Marines, his opinions on various topics, and also, more importantly, his time upon leaving and his struggles with his own personal mental health and inner demons. So without further ado, let's get into episode 1. Please enjoy. Forgive me for the camera work. We're still getting to grips with that, and over time we're going to learn. The content's fantastic, and I didn't want to rule anything out. So it's slightly longer than I'd like it to be, but everything that's said I feel are important messages. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 1. Let me know what you think. Subscribe down below, leave a comment. And if you are one of these people, please reach out to me. Maybe there's something we can do in the future. And let's get the message about talking and opening up about your inner demons to people and making it a strength and not a weakness, because that's where the direction we need. We need people to understand that this is something that is important to maintain personal mental well-being and health. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 1.
There's always a common theme, I think, with lads who join corps, though there tends to be, is like they've excelled in sports, or there's just a cut above your average, well, whatever you consider average. There's just something what stands out with most of them. Not all, you know, it's not everybody, but it's like I was always sporty as a kid. And, you know, I dived on behalf of Yorkshire. I did springboard diving for about 5-6 years, you know, football all the way through school. Cross country used to win that piece of piss because I loved running. And then, but when I was considering going for Marines, I was 15. So
where did you grow up? In
Yorkshire? Here, just about a mile away.
We're in Bradford now.
So yeah, and we're in what's called Air Valley, so I had on moors and hills to train on, and then para cadets, believe it or not.
What brought you onto the corps though?
I think I remember.
Because your dad served, right?
Yeah, he was in Duke Wellington's. He joined 66 and left 84, and then sibling he joined Duke's and he joined about 90, 89, 90. Did his 22, but my nan had always said I had a relative who was Hereford. SES, but he got corps and then SBS, and I never knew that, and that went 70s to 90s. But with the military sort of like side of it,
you never knew that growing up.
No, I didn't know that. I knew once I'd joined Marines, but I'd joined para cadets, and then I'd just seen like, I'm sure I remember reading a Royal Marines Commando book. My uncle, well, not reading it, seeing it at my uncle's, my mum's brother. And then I remember a visibility team coming to school. I can't remember if it were Marines or Army, I can't remember. And then I just had it in my head for Marines. And I remember my English teacher saying, oh, you should go officer. And I mean, in a different class then, you know, I was brought up poor and everything, and I wasn't educationally sound enough to go officer. And this.
But did you have a good upbringing?
I had a good upbringing. I had a poor upbringing. but I had a good upbringing, so I had the freedom. My mum always allowed me to be out, and all right, you know, all memes you see now I could play out until fucking, you know, lamps went out. But I was always active. I was always outdoor, all weathers. That's how we did as kids. We always do a mend. We made stuff like go karts. Well, let's pram. All right, I'll disassemble that.
Pre-social media and
everything,
mobile.
yeah, and radiators. We didn't have that little gas fire and stuff. It was hard, you know, poor. But my nan and granddad were always influential in I was so close to them. And my granddad had served, and my mum had lived out in Africa. You know, I remember my mum teaching me how to count to 10 in Arabic. And then when I was doing, actually in the Corps Maritime, so my ops, as a team commander.
Where was that predominantly?
Just off coast of Somalia, I can't remember the number, Combined Task Force, Coalition Task Force, CTF 141 or something, I can't remember. You were out there doing, and the Hash Highway off Oman as well. And I remember, because you'd fly out to Cyprus sometimes, transiting through Suez, through Bab el-Mandeb Straits, and then work all, because there were over 30 coalition ships working there. So we're busy protecting
There's
all
still
the
a
interests.
handful. I mean, I've just done the last 10 years there.
Yeah, I did. It was called Operation Kalash, was that, and then we. I remember doing a job, and we had no interpreter, so they'd flown from Saudi or Oman across the ship, an old mercenary veteran from Aden, Oman days, and he was teaching us general Arabic, and I just remembered, you know, you go back memory wise, counting to 10. So we'd do an hour as teams. I was working with another team at the time, so we had 2 teams. And then on an evening, he'd do private 1-to-1 Arabic with me. And then it just helped, as well as a packet of cigarettes with crew and stuff, to when you were securing crew, just trying to get your local intelligence. So I'd be using pidgin Arabic there, but it helped when you worked around Middle East. So it's like, get a taxi and you might be in, I don't know, fucking Muscat. And you didn't get ripped off because you just say cam.
Well, it's an honest place.
Yeah, you just say cam, how
There's
much.
such repercussions for people that in that region of the world. That
but the charge is the same as locals, but then you always give them more anyway. But it's just say cam, and they look at you, how does he know? That's like slang for how much in Arabic. So it's like, and it's little stuff like that. I mean, it was the same in Bahrain where my Arabic stopped us getting, which they worked out afterwards, we were going to be ambushed. And it's a great story, and it's not one I've mega gone into. I ended up managing to get us down towards this American PX, but it's because I was listening to what they were saying, and I could pick up different words from what they were saying, like Rashash, machine gun, Bondakia, rifle, and there were all them little highlights, and I was pissed up at the time we'd had a great sesh. No, it was massive, you know, courtesy at GPC camp.
Part of the culture, though, isn't it? In the Marines, you work, rest, and play is so extravagant, and like in a warrior culture such as the Corps, you only realise when you leave what the standard of the people were, whether you liked them, respected them. Well, you always respected them, but whether you liked them or you were pally with them, you always look back and realise the standard of people you work with was so vastly higher than the normal spectrum of people.
It becomes norm for you, and when people fuck up, it's like, wait on a minute, you're not fucking been that daft or dense or thick and stuff. But towards back end of my career, I laid off the drink quite a bit.
I think most people sort of go that way.
Well, early on, I mean, Jesus, I had a corporal, and he used to say to me, right, we're off on piss. And 2 weeks later, you're still on piss. And it's like, I'm getting in a debt here. You know, I'm not on the corporal's pop stars wages to fund this. So, you know, but I were in Plymouth at times, so it was a fantastic run ashore. Because every night was like a Saturday fucking night. And you were that young enough to be able to do it.
That time.
I was at Stonehouse Barracks in 539 at that time. And it just, you know, the bagging off, and then in the morning, I mean, I just like trapping like 10 men. I used to get trapped. You know, I used to get pulled. Honestly, the stories of, I had hair back then, but, and you're always brown and, you know, wore nice
shape
clothes,
and
really good shape. I was
money on the
physically
hip.
fit.
No worries.
No, and
No
just
fear.
good tan, good clothes. Always had a tan because you're always away. So, you know, what usual sketch, save up your money when you're away and then spend it in first fucking week when you get back, live like a king.
I mean, every year I served, I was always living in debt. I was always in debt.
Yeah.
You'd work. I mean, again, talking about the core, the warrior culture. You'll never work among such specialised blokes. When they're working, it's a dog eat dog world. Yeah. Everyone wants to progress. You can trust each other. You know,
but there's not many where you look and go, look at me. It's just you're naturally going to get guys who are naturally fucking good,
driven,
all round, good at what they do. And mate Warren, you know, King's Badgeman, top of his snipers, top at junior, just a naturally good egg, likeable character. Yeah. Well, love character actually. You know, I mean, he sent me an Nick Flask out to Afghan before he deployed back out with us on that Herrick 9. But just naturally, some guys are going to excel naturally. But in general, I know what you see, dog eat dog. But the standard of professionalism, because your base standard after training has given you a foundation. So it's cut a lot of that shit out because you've to get the green berry. Yeah, a few scrape through and everything else. And we're only human as well. We're learning. But it's a foundation, you know, and that course, the Commando course, is one of the best foundations militarily you're ever going to get in the world, bar none.
Agreed.
And, you know, and it's pushed you. And I've taken people through, and a guy who got King's Badge, and he died in a motorbike accident up in Scotland, actually, John Chehy, a phenomenal recruit and pleasure. He wasn't in my section or in another lad's section, but it's just them foundations and what you have to go through criteria wise, physically and mental, and you know the written tests and everything.
It sets you for the rest of your life, doesn't it?
The academia, because you're constantly under pressure. Now, if you're pissing the fitness, I can get you. Me on the training team, I can make it a challenge for you if you're but as long as you're putting 110% in, you've got to be putting 110% in, because you take corners, it's identifiable straight away, especially when you're on a training team and you've got like your section or the troop, and you just spot stuff, and you're there to do that. You're there to teach a syllabus, but you're there teaching a way of life, and this way of life comes through traditions, those before us as well, and we've got to honor and carry them, because through sacrifice and tactics and everything else and ethos, you know, the commando qualities or any qualities, is we're aspiring to be that. So, you know, I mean, I got some good advice. It's just like, right, when you pass out, find your corporal and not look up to him, emulate him, or find one. And I did. And I were in Cornwall, and I just randomly bumped into my first corporal. Right. And he's still serving, 36 years. 36 years he's done. And I, you know, and I hadn't seen him for a long time. Long time. You know, I'd flown out to Norway at the time to meet my unit there, and he became my first corporal, and we did Norway, France and Spain. But the give me a base stamp, the fitness, obviously, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ, fit as a fiddle. But your body's still repairing after training as well, and you bulk out naturally. Yeah. But all the training I'd done beforehand helped. Yeah. Do you know, you'll struggle at something. The academic I didn't struggle with in training. I think like Baptist run I'd come forth, and I was literally 18. You know, so I applied when I was 16, and I think I was too young, and especially in
was it your first proper job joining the corps?
No, I'd had a couple of jobs up here, like just manual jobs. It well, literally. My mum said, get a job or you're out. And that's how it was. You had to pay fucking board, you know. I mean, I lived with my nan for a bit. And then I met a lass on holiday over in Cleethorpes, Haven site. And then I moved down to Huntingdon. And I was working down there. And then we moved back up, working. Moved back down again. And then we split up. So I moved up to Blackpool and I trained with sibling. And I was 17, did my potential recruits course then at 17, and then I joined after my mum's after my 18th birthday, a month after, and joined up in Preston actually, careers office there. So, but then when I had originally gone at 16,
that's where I walked into that office at the bottom of the high street.
Yeah,
I remember
cough
that
and
day.
drop. Yeah, but the 16. Well, the first time I went to Leeds, because that's where Marines won. Well, they want one in Bradford. I'd gone in shirt and tie and all that because it's how you
make an impression.
Yeah. And I want to join Marines, and it just said follow me. And he took me around back. It's this corridor back at offices, and I just said, jump up on pull-up bar, and I did. And I grabbed it underarm, and he said, turn your hands around. And I'm like, what's all that about?
Yeah, standard.
And then, I'm more or less garroting myself with tie and shirt on. And he goes, start banging him out. Which a term you hear a lot in training. And I don't know, I think I did about just shy of 10 pull-ups, I think, not even that. No one told you what the minimum standard was. He didn't tell you. I think it was 4 or 5. I mean, you need the upper body. A lot of I seen it in training. Suffer. People can run naturally, or tend to run. What they do struggle with is upper body, especially for rope climbing. It's a massive thing in Royal Marines training, and especially when you progress to kick, because it then becomes pure aggression. It's hard to do technique.
Do you know what I love about bootnecks is, and other elite units, and the vast majority of the military is in a normal day to day, a normal civvy, they'll work towards something. Let's say a marathon, which is good on them, but you work towards that marathon, but you're going home at night and you're going to sit down, you chill out clothes in a nice warm room. But when you're on like Baptist run, like you mentioned, and you're doing wet and dry or whatever, and you've got to break up your clothes to get your legs in because they're frozen solid. When you hit walls like that and you overcome walls like that, knowing full well that your next wall is coming shortly after, over the course of 8 months and then onto your unit, and then it all starts again, it builds you into a completely different character. I know I am not the person I was when I signed up, and my family would testament to that as well, because it just builds you into something that you hold with you. I mean, I've been out now since 2013, so it's been 10 years, and I'm still the same bootneck I always was. You still carry the same values, you still carry the same pride and your determination and courage and your humour.
It's how you approach things as well.
Yeah.
You can get frustrated in Civvy Street because people haven't got, say, the strong work ethic. And I think when you're struggling with transition, and everyone's got their own story, but when you find a job where people have got the same mentality from what you've been used to and you're part of a uniform, then it reminds you of them professional.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't join the Corps for money. And I remember being down working on Crossrail and was a foreman, and then I went on the health and safety team with Kia. And
when was this?
This were in 2011, 2012, and they were a joint venture for Western Running Tunnels project with BAM, Nuttall's, Ferrovial and Kia. And Ferrovial Agraman was the Spanish tunnellers. And they had a safety leadership programme, and I had applied to be on it in the health and safety improvement team. And they sat round and I went, why is safety important to you, blah, 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 and reasons for safety. And I just said, if you can get someone who comes into work not worrying about money, I said, you'll have a professional, safe person. And
there's
because
passion and interest, isn't it?
Because they're wanting to do it. So, so them standards, if someone's in the same mindset, professional people, that the team, when it becomes team and not I, and it's classic, because there is a lot in corporate world of eyes and look at me, I'm doing well. No, just do your job and you'll naturally be looked at, or you'll naturally progress as to where you want. Because some people can progress, but they don't suit that role because they're not maturing or experienced enough. It's like when we were in Afghan, and we were chatting earlier, and I was saying, look, some of the decisions I made were through experience. Yeah. Not compared. If you'd have had a young corporal, wouldn't have made them. It's still got the standard of a benchmark, but but I have like a 12-year corporal at that point, so I am going to naturally make mature decisions through operational and exercise experience.
And by that
you can't
point,
match that.
Yeah, it's almost muscle memory of my memory, isn't it?
There is muscle memory, but there's things which is you're picking into is where you've been tested on a course, or where you've seen someone else done it, or it hasn't worked, and these
something's
are the
gone wrong and
differences.
you've learned from it.
And if something's gone wrong, you do it in training. You know, I used to, lads didn't. I used to say, if you're gonna fuck up, do it fucking in training, or do it on your base. Don't fuck up out there. I mean, we're only human, and we all make mistakes. We can be tired, but this is where the sleep deprivation, the training, the experience, all these factors come in to make you such a professional operator, basically.
Yeah.
And then you're an individual in a team again, but you've already experienced that, and you've all got different skill sets. So if you as a commander or a leader or a manager in anyone, pick up on the person's strong points, doesn't matter if they're relevant to that role, bring them to fruition, share them, and then work on anything which they regard as a weakness or you think they could be improved upon.
Yeah.
You've got to do both. You can't just work on one or identify a weakness and go,
you're nurturing it then, aren't you?
You've got to nurture, and you bring people on, you know, so and you've got to let people, and if people aren't being up to standard, you as a manager, leader, have got to help them. You can't just say, oh shit, you're gone. You know, there's a lot of that now in coaching, workplace coaching, with regards to companies, because it costs so much to, you know, go and advertise for new people and everything else, and their colleagues might have been there, they might just be having a performance failure, because there might be outside factors, family, personal circumstance, whatever, which is, you know, affecting their work. So if you as, whether you're trained or not, mature person, you can always try and bring out the best in somebody. Some people will naturally be shit, you know.
But this is the difference between an unexperienced management level personnel seeing someone fail and then binning them because they failed, or someone with experience and leadership that's seen the failure, seeing that they can work on that, and that understanding that with the right nurture and the right training, that they can absolutely become a better person from it, and learn and become the person that you want them to become, and better for them as well. And then they'll take that through, and then hopefully they'll.
If you allow someone to be a team, I mean, when I was on Crossroads, it was a very small site, and on one of the sites, and it's where all excavated material will come in, and eventually 3 million cube of soil will come in through my site via rail. And in the morning, we do what's called a start of shift briefing, and I would get the lads together. It might be half a dozen, sometimes a dozen of us, and I say, right, Eddie, come and stand here, because it'd be relevant to what we'd be doing that day. I say, right, and it'd be just quick fire questions. So I say, Eddie, age, where you from, do you support any sport, supporting sports, like football, rugby, whatever, cricket, whatever, golf, and then it'd be, right, you're a 360 above 10 ton operator, give us some of your experiences. What do people tend to do wrong around your thing? So I'm doing a personal toolbox talk here. Right, and it'd go, right, they'll come in front blind side, they'll do this, you know, the dead man's might be trapped by a jacket because of the waterproof jacket on there, so, you know, I say, okay. The other lads, there's all different specialisations. It could be coded welder, concrete finishers, joiner, whatever, you know, engineer, and they're just getting a little bit of experience with someone else. But that day, I've got plant operations going on. So already I've done and what I've done is and I'd end it with, tell us a funny story.
On a light note.
Right, but it'd be an informal start shift briefing, but it'd still be signed for.
Yeah, of course.
And what it did is it gelled people. So I say, right, where you living? Oh, there, right. Oh, I live near there. So now you just saved your fuel costs coming in because I can share with you.
And you've
so
got
I've
to know
now got a bond. I've now got a bond or something with you. So when you've got a bond with people and you're not individuals or strangers, you are safer, but you are more cohesive as a team, which makes you more productive. Obviously, in that world, it's all about obviously budgets and timelines and everything else.
Whole different world, isn't it?
But it's exactly the same when we're in military. You get to know people, and you do intimately. So that's why you go out and piss together.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing sports, go on holidays together, or breaks, weekenders, whatever. You know, I mean, a lot of my young days, there were a lot of camp orphans because as young Marines couldn't afford cars.
I know I couldn't.
So when you know, towards the latter part, lads would be going home and fucking, what do you mean you're going home? You know, you know, you've just been home last weekend. So it misses a little bit, and then single living accommodation, and lads were just locking themselves in fucking the rooms. Whereas when you're in Spiders, it were more, Corporal has his own room, of course he has his work for that, but you become more gelled, and it makes you a formidable force, and it applies to any world. Yeah, applies to any world.
I think this is where, like, obviously, because we served on Herrick 9, Afghanistan in 2009, 2010, so if we sort of fixate on this for a moment. And I mean, I don't know about you, but my time at 4-5 was my happiest time in the Corps. It had just had all the right sort of combinations of the mentality of being a bootneck. Plus, as you were saying about becoming cohesive, there were that many camp orphans. When we actually went on the tour, because we were in the same section, obviously you were my commander and I was your 2IC. I felt like when we went out there and we would come under a contact and we come under heavy fire or we were getting flanked, it was almost, you know, you were so well gelled that you knew where everyone was at every moment. You knew what was expected of each other. There was obviously communication's key.
I didn't hear anyone dripping either. No. Like you know, and I had Marty, Point Marty, doing Valen, 3IC at section as well. Yeah. Did a really good role. Bonds on gun, you know, you had Smiler on Minimi, you had Scotty with UGL and Team Medic, plus carrying ECM. You had Kev carrying ECM. You know, you had all these guys doing their roles. You as 2IC supporting me, you know, and likewise supporting you, and that builds up, and you're all supporting our little role. But it's like, you know, you're all in your own grot as well. So do you know what? Even though you had your personal space, you all had your grot. But it's like, you know, there were only, I think, one patrol I was really pissed off with. It's because it was shit and people were on hour and hour, and it was just. It we're all right when we got back, but it was dangerous from what we'd been out on from my perspective looking in. Now, you could say that's me to blame as well, which it was. But, you know, like I said to you, I flashed. But you're
in a war zone. You're in the most highly stressed environment imaginable from any perspective.
I only flashed once at old lads, and I was fuming. You know, obviously when Jack fucking fucked up saying he cleared his weapon and I said no unload, and because I were a PW as well, so it's like, you know, we all make mistakes, but I only flashed once, and another section commander come up and go, what the fuck was that, and that this were after I'd flashed, and it's like, look, I've just fucking had a word with my lads, fuck off, you know, they're my lads, don't get involved. I don't get involved in your lads, but what it was is that.
But again, it's doing a mistake and then learning from it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it was that intensive. But we built up. Obviously, I got injured, and I was doing them contact drills at Barry Budden, and I tore my calf. You can still see it tear now. But I managed to deploy early on as a Conco, which is the old continuity officer. Just go out a month early, and I'd volunteered for that. And now we're happy to do that, you know. And it's normally Stripey's job. And now we're in with Irish Rangers and 16-hour assault attached to them to get all topographical, geographical and stuff before lads came out. And I emailed him back via the vent system to IC, which we had a Mercian officer attached, so he got to IC of our thing. So I emailed him back stuff to him, and then when he came in, the advance pack came in, I could update them, and then they could do their part, and some funny stories like with OC, company commander, when we've gone out on an ID clearance, but the the whole everyone doing their job, and you learn little bits because you have to change your tactics. So we did through 9 foot corn, whether you're doing jungle drills, formations. The ground dictates it sometimes, as well as your tactical awareness and then the interoperability as well. The roles, those I think who struggled. I'm not saying core wise, but we were constantly pushing the flat, pushing the forward line of enemy troops.
Yeah.
Compared to when we got there, and you constantly have to do that, and that's a reassurance.
And we did a great job with that. We pushed them right out.
Pushed them right out, especially north. South was to me, the south was more dangerous in that the fighters didn't seem as seasoned compared to the north. I know we were fighting Chechen Muslims. I know that from in.
It was a lot more closed in the south, though. There was a lot more green.
Yeah, more green. Yeah.
It was more spread out in the north. It was much more open.
Yeah, there were big especially after the harvest and the corn come down and wheat and whatnot.
From that tour on Herrick 9, I mean, for me, I did 3 tours, and for me that was easily the best, most violent, most heavy warfighting tour that I did out.
Well, I remember saying, don't wait to be spanked to be aggressive, or to be hit or take a casualty. But at the same time, the good thing we've always been good at, the British, is hearts and minds, and you've got to do that for your intelligence and everything else. Plus the reassurance of local populace, because you want them on site.
Of course,
it didn't always work, because that IED went off at back of Scotty and Rim, but they were within the ECM bubble. So, and the boss had just given fucking a local farmer fucking $100. And I then went, what are you giving him money for? I said, wait on a minute, is there any IDs around here? Fruit Terp. And he went, no. And we set off, and 2 minutes later, one went off back at patrol.
Doesn't always go, does it?
Yeah, and this was literally 2 minutes after, and we couldn't find the guy, because they were fucking had big words with him, like.
What I found about the Afghan people, I genuinely thought the Afghan people were fantastic. I mean, do you remember that one guy we had in the north of the compound? I remember his name, Abdul Salam. Do you remember him?
No, Jamal, the old boy.
It was definitely Abdul Salam. He was about 80.
Yeah,
I remember
it was Jamal.
It
was Jamal. Jamal.
No.
I remember that. I know exactly what you're going to say. Because fucking
what was
we missed the fucking 3105s, right? We missed the 3105s in the little...
No, that wasn't the compound.
Oh, that was... All right, well, I'm thinking about Jamal's compound.
No, Abdul Salam, he was a very well-respected member of society, but he used to give us quite accurate information, and because I went on that Pashto language before. Did you do that before?
No, I didn't know.
We went on that.
You and Jack, wasn't it?
So I was chatting to the... for some reason, I mean, I only knew a small amount, but for some reason I'd be part of the conversation, and I remember he was 80, he had 20 children, 18 were dead and 2 were still alive, and that was obviously typical tribal mentality, fighting against the Taliban, then fighting for the Taliban, blood for blood situation. But the people were fantastic in general, the Afghans, really, really lovely, but you can't take that tribal side out of them.
Well, no, I mean, it's like when we used to give kids sweets and take rappers out, because they would be fucking murdered, like Taliban, they would be slaughtered, if they found British rappers and that, or whatever. ISAF fucking food stuff. But yeah, I mean, I remember, but kids at the same time, like, I remember when we were in Wishton, and it's like, right, we're about to go and kneel in that corner, right, kids around and all that stuff. So just getting the ball sweets out and whanging in corner. And it's like, if kids ran there, you knew they wanted an IED there. Yeah. Right, I'm going to now... Yeah. It was part of your 5 and 20s, but it kept you alive, and it's little tactics like that, which... it's not unorthodox, because there was some stuff where I knew we'd get hit going over open ground, and we'd do the old stop and search on guys, and you'd have your in, and it'd like, right, radio back through, right, because you can't remember all the fucking names. It's not like English names. So it's like, so radio at 3 and it's like, yeah, he's an IED facilitator. Right, okay. Right, you're going to walk with me, mate, and you see all fucking motorbikes moving around. I remember we did it, and we moved, west to east up to 611 over open ground, which was just perfect ambush territory, and we didn't get it.
No.
And I knew it was because I'd taken this guy with us, and he was one of the commanders, or IED commanders, sometime.
But Washington was a cheeky place. The most heavily ID'd area in the region.
And I took him across with him. But what I was doing as well is I was laughing with him as if he were collaborating with us. Because if anybody watching, it's like the old island. It's like right now he's going to be under scrutiny from his own guys. Because I said to Bob, watch this. And it's like, what are you doing, Rick? And I was like, fucking just listen and learn, will you? Watch and learn. And I took him across, and you could see all fucking mopeds and scooters and all this guy driving around, going to the weapons caches. And we didn't get it, but we had to go across this ground anyway. And it just so happened we stumbled across this guy. So, thankfully we got across without being hit. Yeah, we could have dealt with it, but what's the point? I'm in open ground, not of my choosing. Like as in ambush back or to them. So it only took one. So there's little things like that where you could go, well, no happened, and it's like, no happened because of. Because if you look at sequence of events of stuff, if you always look back on if something happens, there's always a sequence of events building up. So what we're doing, I'm doing dynamic risk assessments, i.e. there's your standard risk assessments, then the dynamic is actually in situ.
Exactly.
So on ground, and your brain is constantly, so this was like giving your anticipatory orders of net or whatever else, like if we come under contact, if we we're going to do this, or you're going to try and do this. It doesn't always go.
I mean, you've always got to be thinking ahead, always.
It's like you are on LSD, fucking magic mushrooms, 10,000 things going on in your head, and you're trying to be one step ahead. It's like I used to say to you guys, right, if you're going to put one in shot or shoot someone, fucking just do it. Don't tell me on radio, because that second could cost me at the front or Marty or anyone else, or because you have a different angle, especially as you're curving round, you might just see something or something happens and you've got a better angle. And I always used to say, and if you don't pull trigger as well, you'll be on first flight back out.
Exactly.
So there was a carrot and stick.
Well, you're fighting two different. We're fighting modern day warfare. They're fighting guerrilla tactics. You're fighting on two different spectrums, and they don't care about laws and rules. You've got to use your
But we
intuition.
use guerrilla tactics as well. People don't realise we used to ID their non-firing points.
Well,
so we put them on RC bar mine. I haven't really talked about that. But we do stuff like that. I mean, it's like the compounds with firing holes and cloths in, corned, and that's like the old medieval fucking archers fucking slits, which were corned in, so they could come from different angles, and it's the same with firing through. All at a certain height, so my head doesn't have to go above the wall, above the parapet. A classic, isn't it? Yeah, your sentries, your sangers are all obviously the more exposed elements, but there's stuff where you are always trying to be one step ahead, or dog eat dog. How can I? So it'd be like you get the icon. And I remember a good one, I think...
just for the relevance of the listeners that aren't military, ICOM's obviously the radio.
Yeah,
listening to their communication.
Yeah, ICOM were their system, and we'd have obviously our turret monitoring their frequencies. Yeah, so and I remember one where we'd gone out to the old ICAP, which was a big resupply helicopter, and they'd had a deal with Taliban where they'll pay a max amount and they won't shoot it out of the sky.
Was that the Russian helicopter?
Yeah, big white. It ended up getting blown up, actually.
We used it a lot.
But because it was too big to land in FOB, because it took all fucking roofs off fucking accommodation.
Yeah, you knew when that landed, didn't you?
Right, yeah, so it had to land outside. So you put a perimeter cordon in. And I remember we had some ICOM and black smoke. We had ICOM traffic saying, yeah, we've got eyes on these guys, got eyes on this. So I knew they were on about us.
Yeah.
And I had bombs were on R&R, so I had I'll just call him by his first name, Gav. And he was on the gun, and instead for that, so I said, "Oh, bring gun up here, will you?" And this was a beauty. This I said, "Right, Rim were on mortar." I said, "Rim, just set your mortar up on that there," and he did. So we're good to go. I said, "Get your fucking HE fucking bombs out," because Mortimer used to carry about 20 odd, and we carry 1 or 2 each.
Yeah.
And he had them laid out. Got gone. I went, "Just fire into that, will you?" And I want everybody to go quiet afterwards. And he just put a burst into this area where I thought it was Taliban. I'm calling her at Billy. But I just love little bits like this. You know, these aren't all like your firefights and all like. But it was like, and then it came over ICOM. Fucking hell, that were close. And this is Taliban saying that. So I went, "Rim, give it fucking 5 rounds rapid." Right? So they fucking put 5 rounds rapid into position. ICOM went quiet. We didn't go and follow it up because obviously we were doing the security of the ICAT landing. But what it did is it reinitiated.
I don't remember that.
No, you were there.
I must have been there.
And I did, and basically it was when the bosses were ripping, which doing a relief in place, and I'd had it, and I normally with John, one at boss, I said, "Come here, look, watch this." You're not doing your own thing, you're not being rogue. What it is if that firefight initiates, I'm already in cover. I can deal with it.
Preemptive thinking.
It's a preemptive strike as well, yeah. But it's on my terms. So if it does materialise that they're there, well, I've got my mortar.
Yeah.
We know where on map they specifically are. We can hit them with potential withdrawal routes with the mortar or 81, 51, 81 or 105. And then for the air as well straight away. So, and you can monitor their activity around.
And it's more precise being an earlier setup.
Yeah.
You
can raid the area afterwards as well. You can do an op on it. Obviously, you can, and it might be IED'd as well if it's because there were a lot of their non-firing points IED'd. There were a classic one we used to use going north in the northern green zone, and it was basically just after a PB, and it was on the edge of the wadi. And there were a big expanse of about 700-800 metres. So I always just say, lads, don't worry about fucking rifles. We've come under contact from there. We've got the mortar and we've got the fucking GPMG. Yeah, I fired rifle out to 800 and you do on certain courses.
And those open areas
no
in the
point.
north were so dangerous.
Yeah.
You crossing those open areas, I'd say
when I was troop sergeant, I'd get requests to put smoke down and that's fucking hell, that were close. And Rim would be on mortar, and like literally, but I was firing out of a compound on grit, on obviously using your mag bearing and your map predicted map. So, but and I remember this firing point, we'd used it a couple of this transit laying up point before we moved forward, and we're always bound in Caterpillar or Leapfrog, the 2 point sections, and then you obviously had your FSG reserve section. And I said, what it was is we'd used it a couple of times. And I said, right, boss, when we go north again, we cannot go that route.
Yeah.
Because we've laid up there, we've used it. It's just too prominent on map. Yeah. And anyway, A&A patrol went up and there were
Afghan National Army,
and there were a collapsing circuit on an ID, and then there were a tilt switch on a coke can as well. And so if they want to kick that or whatever else, we got the other, and 2 A&A went red mist. One stepped on it and 2 of them got vaporised, and it was the exact point. But it was the exact firing point. I said to the boss, do not use that again until it gets a clearance on it, because we'd used it too many times, and we were setting pan and we won because we weren't the only troop to patrol. Yeah. So I used to go into the ops room, standard stuff, look at the patrol traces, see who's been where, and this classic one was, which it's fucking unforgivable, is we'd gone out Christmas Day and we had an afternoon patrol. And that morning we were 2 troop, 1 troop had been south. And I looked at his mission, and we had the orders, and the boss going the exact same route. And I went, no, we ain't going that fucking way. And he's looking at me as if to go. And I think he put it in my roars and like trust mission. It were in my roars like it should trust mission command or something like that. And I just thought, no, go fuck yourself. It's Christmas Day. So yeah, we're going to patrol every day. But if all happens today, it's Christmas fucking Day. The family's got to live with that for the rest of their lives.
It's Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It's the morale of the lads.
Yeah.
It's the morale of the Taliban
Yeah.
for knowing it being Christmas Day, and they've ruined everyone's lives. So it's
And it was inexcusable. And I said to him, we ain't going that route. I said, one troop's just been on ground, and the Taliban were known for digging in after you've been on patrol. That route.
But how refreshing is it when you get a boss that listens to junior commanders, that takes
It's how he learns.
the experience? Yeah. I mean, it comes with time.
But it of all days, I'd have said it no matter what day it was. But especially that, and I went, we ain't doing it. Like, but it I mean, this was after Baz had been blown up, and because it was Christmas Day, and obviously Baz had. I mean, it's funny how dates. I think it was 2nd of December, so that's the same day my granddad died actually. Obviously years previous, so. Big believer in old dates and stuff like that. I always have the tie-in and stuff, and there were just some things like that where it's like, come on, this is common sense. It should be common sense, but not. You know, you can go in the same route. Old days, Christmas Day. Come on, fucking no-brainer. You know, we ain't doing it. We ain't doing it.
You know something's wrong.
Well, we're going south, and whenever we went south, we always have contact. I think we didn't have one that day, which was pretty good. The Taliban were clever, mate. I mean, when our lads ripped in, doing the relief in place, they didn't do all for a month. They didn't, there were a couple of scraps. But no, I mean, first scrap we had when we were in patrol base and Free Troop had their scrap.
Yeah.
Because I had it out with Airbus before he got flown back. Because I was putting covering fire on Smiler's Mini-Me. Because I'd sent him to go and do a job, and then it kicked off with them. But I'd seen when the pop red smoke, and I shot to there to cover basically the withdrawal into Canal. Because Ash who ended up Mel B's bodyguard, and unfortunately Ash took his life
such a
3
good
years.
Bloke, wasn't he?
3 and a bit years ago, did Ash.
He had such good morale.
He came up, that was his first ever firefight, and he came up fucking wide-eyed like that, looking in the PB like this. And that's where Scotty, another section commander, come out as QRF to help him. They had a blue on blue in the fucking between from Free Troop firing across. He got clipped in the shoulder because Taliban were in the middle of him. But, I remember just whacking rounds in on that, but it became, they come all piss wet and they're all like fucking proper wired, and I just fucking put 200 rounds through Smiler's fucking Mini-Me. I hadn't even fired it yet. But the Taliban were clever, and that all stemmed from Taliban trying to ambush lads, and I think Scouts just stuck a fucking round into a dog. Because obviously you didn't just go around shooting random dogs. They had rabies, and you got to protect your assets.
Of course, and they were huge.
Yeah, and you got to protect your assets. So you can't have them going for your sniffer dog or out like that.
I remember one came at me, I put 6 rounds into him, and he ran off. Ran off.
I put one in, and Boss came over at radio.
Massive.
Came over at radio, did Boss, and he goes, "That's a crate you missed." I went, "That'll be 2 crates, watch what happens now." And it ran off and just went, "Dick!"
Yeah.
But it's because we had sniffer dog, it
Then
wasn't
you
on a
have to pay
chain. Yeah, Boss had allowance to thing. If you want on a chain, you couldn't risk it. They had rabies, you've got your highly trained dogs and that.
Yeah.
And that was.
They're there for protection. That's why they have them. And you've got to put them, if they're going for you, you've got to put them
down. Yeah. Well, it's like when we Teswart leading troop up to Blenheim, and we're going to do a joint patrol with Afghan National Army, who just so happened to be going on their weekly Thursday patrol to fucking Airport Lounge and Sangin Wadi and North. And I know that's where Paul Warren got killed there, who were on our tour with Free Troop and got killed with 40, and Herrick after. And well, as we came off the 611 MSR on patrol, I just heard this gunshot, and I think I went middle, and one troop, one section, and we were in middle, being 2 section, And I thought, what the fuck? And we got up there and there's like this Mexican standoff. Fucking just as he's walking through patrol base, their dog, Afghan National Army's dog, goes for him. So he had to put around him, but it was right in front of fucking Afghan National Army. Yeah. So I've got this Mexican standoff. Boss is trying to sort it, I'm trying to sort it. And in the end, because we're up on high ground, I just got all lads together and did a fucking target indication stance. Because I just thought, come on lads, we'll do something. And it just so happened actually on that is where we got all that in. Because we went, right, we ain't going south on this patrol now. We ain't going on patrol where they've got the same place on their patrol trace. Fuck that, that's just a fucking accident waiting to fucking happen. Yeah. Like IED fucking riddle gauntlet. So we went north at Green Zone. And the first compound we broke into at the bottom of that hill, we got all them fucking SIM cards, we got all the fucking phones, we got contact details, we got F1 Russian grenades. That's where fucking, I think it was Smiler clotheslined one at women and she ran out that fucking door. And then, and I went, stop her, and it might have been Marty clotheslined her. And then Jace came over our Royal Marines place. And Turt was like, where's Turt? And they're in different compounds. But this was the first one compound at the bottom of the fucking PB Blenheim. Why has it got all that in? Why hasn't it been constantly searched? It's because the Afghan National Army there were just going south. Or just wrapping the tits in. And we had all this fucking in. And it's just like, oh the fuck. But it started patrol off God. I mean, we had some good little stuff, you know. Good finds as well. Like when we were breaking sections for dawn assaults and stuff. Remember that scrap in North? And we broke in and we got them like old Winchester, like fucking.
We searched his house and he had two beautiful rifles.
Yeah, well, I spoke with Goody, who's into all his weapons. He says, Rick, they're pre what I've got. They're like fucking Boer War shit.
We ended up leaving him with him.
Yeah, we give them. They want. I mean, they were
self-defense. Family.
Harmless.
From what you felt.
And we moved on, and we're in the build. We're in this compound. And these were company op, you know, north, and it was furthest north we'd been at that point. And we got hit from that fucking mosque. Right? But when we got hit, we're just about to fucking blow in our compound a weapons cache, and they'd already said 1 minute. So, and then one troop behind us had, after their bosses ripped, they had a young Irish one, and fucking hell, he was dangerous, mate. He was firing the GPM GSF over and through our fucking position, mate. Which I just went off my head. I was like, fuck off, it's our arc. And then it was like, they wouldn't bring artillery in because it was a supposed mosque. It's just a fucking brick building. And it got like ornate shit. And they were firing from it. And you could see them. And we were firing back. It's like, no, I'll just stick the fucking air in on artillery assets. But we're about, so we had to deal with scrap and then blow the fucking thing because we were literally just round the corner and we dug it. Oh, there's a cache, right? There's some fucking more. And it's like, yeah, we've got the engineer with us. Fucking blow the cunt. And but it kicked off when they give a minute call. It's like fuck it in an old fashioned fucking dynamite fuse and we just stub it out. No, but there's little things which happened, and I haven't, spoke about that. Like, as in, but that initial wee dawn breaking section, good nav up, in dark, fucking, and then bang, fucking, that's his compound. And they didn't like it when we'd pop up like that. They'd Taliban, they hated it.
Unsurprised.
No, they didn't like it, but they didn't like fighting us anyway. They always preferred a two-way range rather than us going through.
It was very different when we flew in from what they were used to because we went out there and punished them. Didn't we?
Well, the first firefight where, like we were saying about Ash and Free Troop, they took out one of the top Taliban commanders in first fucking contact.
Well, then they got comfortable and they've been rested on the laurels.
The best one was CO because he went, right, let them know 4 or 5 commandos in town and just stuck a fucking 500 pounder in the bottom at fucking Bazaar, like in Tank Park area. I got that on footage actually. Just stuck, I think it was 500 pounder. Just went, let them know fucking. Yeah, we ain't fucking around.
But the locals needed help in there because they were so controlled. They were just absolutely run over by Taliban, weren't they? And then we came in, pushed them out.
We opened the school.
We gave,
They had the elections, because remember when we had the elections, we'd gone south, furthest we'd ever been, and fuck me, was it a long way south. And Taliban were planning on like this assault on the FOB, and I thought, well, good luck, because you ain't taking FOB Jackson.
Not a chance, no.
But, and I think they were planning an assault on Piley as well, PB Piley, which Piley meant cups in Afghan, which were named after the Irish Rangers one, and it was their first one, 800 metres south of FOB Jackson on Canal, or an A&A and a QRF one section. And we'd gone south, and we're in this compound, and there was just this like fighting age male, i.e. teenager, and I'm thinking, no, we're mega exposed here, and because they were voting that day, and it's when the suicide bomber happened, and I don't know what made me. I know I'd done it with that Taliban commander, and I just went like, "You're coming with me, mate." And boss is going, "What are you doing?" I said, "Just fucking watch while you're getting. I'm surely worked this one out from before. He's coming with us." So we made it look like they weren't getting slapped around, just roughly handled, because it didn't want him to look like a collaborator, you know. And we moved him 1.5 kilometres from there all the way up to Piley, and said once we get him up there, we'll fuck him off straight away. We'll put him in, give him a bit of chocolate or something, and then fuck him off from thanks for his trouble. Because I remember his parents and whole family were kicking off, going, "What the fuck, where are you taking his son?" All this shit, whatever they were screaming. And I just like, "He's coming with me, mate. Hey, you little fucker." And but it stopped us getting hit.
Of course.
And then just after we got rid of him, they dispersed the crowd. What they were trying to do is a diversion on. They had to the people voting. The Taliban had gone in to try and get and protest. So all they did is
they just went the whole town up road, wasn't it?
Well, they just went in with a tank dog, and it soon disrupted it. But that's when. So we were coming back from south to north. We stopped just north of Piley, and what we're going to do is instead of coming in through south gate, we're going to go all the way around the town.
I remember it,
and come in under the bridge into the wadi and come in through Red Shakon, right? But there were a patrol north at the same time. So as they came down north, it was like, right, what we'll do, we'll stop.
Didn't we join in? We joined it, all came in together, didn't we?
We did, but what we did is, just as we stopped and waited, we let them go in first, and on their point section, which would have been us, suicide bomber fucking had a go at them, and that's because we'd raided Doab in mountains, and they said to us they're going to send it. Now we always had suicide bomber threat and vehicle borne IED threat.
At one point there was like 4 vests in the town. That's the reports we got.
I can't remember.
There was a good amount of suicide
bombers. They were always
bombers.
good in, and they'd use the same guy, and the only reason he lived, I mean, ball bearing, one guy got smacked in ballistic glasses, so that shows you importance of your individual protective equipment. Suited to the environment. Another one went through a Lags 5, but it went off on first 4 guys. But what he did is he sort of like, not bottled it, but come out of this alcove, them little cocoon.
I remember
buildings.
he strapped it to the animal, didn't he? Maybe that was a different one.
Yeah, probably a different one, and it sort of leaned forward as he detonated. So what we seen from our angle, what puff of fucking white, and I know Jay's cat top flapped his fucking legs, the bottom of his legs, because that's only what was left of him. But the Mong had tilted forward as he detonated with all fucking bolts and that. So most of them went into the fucking ground. Yeah. But he must have, they used to use retards and that anyway. It's simple, hello, special people fucking hell. But that would have been our section. Because we were the lead section and we let them go in first. So again, just luck or fit.
A lot of it is luck.
Luck, fit. Yeah. These professionals soldiering, but I liked it's hearts and minds then. As soon as them bullets fucking let rip, every asset available, fucking GMRLS, fucking 105, 81s, fucking cars, we had F-15Es, we had, I remember sitting up back at Tower one fucking morning having a cig, and I just watched 2 fucking tornadoes go up 611 at about 200 operational feet level. I'm like, fucking hell, that were pretty good. I hadn't seen them since Sierra Leone. Good effort. And there were just things like that.
Right, so moving forward, like obviously we're going to pull away from talking about service. We're going to push into how you found life after service. Like, what was the reason you left? What was the sort of moment you decided to leave the Corps?
There were a few. Firstly, it was a woman, reason for that, and because I didn't have family. That was sort of like initially, and then thought, do I leave? That's one factor, and then another one was, do I leave early and then I can forge a second career in a better age rather than 40, which might narrow it down. Because, I'd done 30, so I was still, 30, 31, But I was sort of prime of my career. It was an experience. You're always learning, but... And then... my cousin being killed, I just knew I wanted retribution. Not just the lads and all the lads, and that had come to a crescendo. So I knew if I went back out to Afghan again, I'd not murder, but more or less that. And you can't do that as a leader, a position. Yeah,
too much strength.
And I didn't really want to be going back to training centre. I know I would have done as a sergeant, as a TL, a team leader on troop, but I'd done it as a corporal. So I know it's a good position, good job to do. And even though I'd changed branches, at corporal level and specialisations, and weapons and all that, which is all good stuff. But I prefer, I didn't mind admin, but I always just loved being, corporal always best draft, so.
Well,
there were many factors. Excuse me, there were many factors based around that. And then when I did leave, and I was still getting phone calls saying, look, you're sure you want to leave and blah, blah, blah. And I'd handed in my ID card, but my TX wasn't quite there. But I became very ill. And they're saying, look, come on, rejoin Rick, blah, blah, blah. And I turned my seniors down and everything. So there were sort of like regrets. Then my relationship went down pan, and as I was leaving. So I did no resettlement, and I was really ill. So my transition into Civvy Street just wasn't good. And then I ended up on trial for something I didn't do, genuinely didn't do. I wish I would have done, because it would have been worth fucking heartache and stress. But and I was falsely accused of assault, and I just wish I would have done. But I got not guilty. So in this way, a magistrate's court. But I'd left the Corps. They'd extended me 4 months because I was ill to try and get on my resettlement courses. I'd lost, my deposits with this college to do plumbing and heating, like 500 quid deposit. The principal at college wouldn't refund it, so my transition into Civvy Street was just shit. I mean, real, like, no quals. Obviously, I had all my military quals, current and competent. And you go back to how many courses you did, and a lot of them now are more transferable, or they're aligned to civilian accreditation. Yeah. So, and I mean, everything from like your old A1, A2 assessor, MVQ assessor, first aid and all this, and your leadership ones now, your juniors and your seniors are all mixed in with Institute Leadership Management.
Yeah. I mean, they're making it more accessible now.
Yeah, they're obviously, and I got all like sitting guilds and stuff from comms as well. But it's all the other courses which it's not really relevant. Fast roping instructor, kilo abseil course.
So you go from being up there in the Corps, don't you, to like non-transferable.
Depends what you're going into, though. So it's all relevant. It's not applicable to all, but I didn't sort of like. What I wanted to do is go and teach. There was civilian roles for the police firearms to teach. Yeah. But then got rid of the role, and it were on the police doing it, I think. But that's where I was heading with it, and I was living in Somerset at the time. So that's what I wanted to do, and I had all the coaching quals, and I'd done all CQB, SF style, and the UKSF CQB is what the police use anyway, so I've done all that with FSRT. and then obviously you're a small arms or service rifle marksmanship coach anyway from your courses and all the other small arms theory, weapon handling, all different weapons anyway. And I'd done days with police anyway, with Devon and Cornwall Constabulary. We'd done exchanges when I were a young Marine, because one of the lads' dads were a chief firearms instructor. So they'd come up ranges with us in Dartmoor, saying we'd go up to Devon and Cornwall, shoot on their indoor ranges and Killing House. It's always obviously Killing House with simunition. The same simunition which you used on FSRT. So the transition, but I didn't end up going for that. And then the plumbing just didn't materialise at that time, and I was just too ill. And then, so I were ill to the point I tried taking my life, and I'd never been like depressed, like like you'd had feelings of being low, but not like that. And it was so alien to me. And then when lads were finding out on grapevine, or getting phone calls and texts, like lads generally concerned, it's like, is that the Rick we know?
Yeah.
Who we've just known or worked with or served with from all different units. It's like once it had gone out on grapevine, and but it was lonely as well, because it's like I was living down there, I didn't know anyone. And one of my old TQs used to come up and see me. I was going for counselling down at Drake, HMS Drake, down at Devonport in Dockyard with Navy. So I was commuting down there for a day. I was living in Western Super Maritime, but then the 40 Commandos Welfare, who was my TQ in a unit up in Scotland, he'd come, Ty would come and I'd get more out of just spinning dicks with him and having a wet. And, a cup of tea, coffee and some biscuits than what I would with any of these so-called professionals.
Just talking about it takes the edge off sometimes.
We just spin dates. We just tell stories and just in general there were no pressure. Yeah. And even then they were still saying, Rick, they didn't want me to leave anyway. I mean, they were that experienced, and they knew they knew I was making wrong decision, and it was sort of like a bit out of my hands, but it were in my hands as well, if that makes sense. So I regret leaving. I would have probably stayed in a full lot, probably longer, probably tried to go on SD or whatever else, that's because I was always educationally trying to improve myself. Constantly, I'd done well on the training team, and training record cards, really thorough reporting and stuff, and redesigning stuff all the time, and rasps, and like for new ranges, and the academia I did enjoy, it didn't mega challenge me. Obviously you become more articulate, knowledgeable and mature as you've gone through. As a young Marine you're just fucking pissing up and that, you turn up, do your job. But as you get older you're more invested in the role, so
and you want direction.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I ended up, I got my gratuity, they call it a resettlement grant, 5 figures at the time, and my last wage, and I didn't work for that month in March 2010. I officially left, it had been pushed 4 months, and then I ended up getting a job on the landscaping firm for fucking £6.50 an hour digging holes. So I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? And I was in that a year and a half, but after a year or less than a year I'd phoned my mate up in London who I grew up with as kids, and I said, he was on the tender team on tunnelling major projects, and they were just completing to Terminal 5 baggage tunnel. I said, can you see any jobs going? I'll take out, and I wasn't bothered about where I was living. And he says, right, well, I work on behalf of Spanish, I'll see what I can do. And I ended up having a site which had a £40 million railway getting built into it at the time, joining on £20 an hour as a foreman with no construction experience through a labour-only supplier. And because it were next at Thames, and Spanish are just like, he's fucking ex-Marine, he can go next at water. But I learned, and I were on site for 3 months by myself. There were no consents with council, no site mobilisation and checklist hadn't been done. But I'd learnt and built it up, and then when people started coming in, a general foreman, site manager, admin, and then trades, let the specialists do the job. What I was good at is coordinating and organising, and I could do 4 or 5 people's jobs because it just seemed easy, more easy. But I didn't have the knowledge. But then you start gaining the knowledge, so that gave me that good professional thing. And then I had a blip, and Kia I was working for at the time on the health and safety team. I was working in Farringdon on the main station upgrades. It's where both tunnel drives were coming into in London from the west and eastern running tunnels. Big project, £250 million plus, and where Charterhouse Square and Smithfield Market. And they put me through some private counselling.
Right.
So the counselling
at this point,
initially.
were you aware that there's something wrong?
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, I progressed like 2 years at this point. So this 2009 when I was leaving, because when we got back from Afghan in the April. My cousin was killed 6 weeks after in Sangin, where we'd just been, and we'd set PB Wishton up after Yanks. You know, we established it properly, and obviously there were Tangiers and that, and he was killed there. So I became ill, and obviously culmination of all years at lads, and it's been phenomenal in too many. One's too many, but when it's in your own family, it puts a different take on it, and it did, and it really affected me. You know, last time I'd seen him on piss. And I knew coming out, we'd taken his engineers out on patrol when we'd done that compound takeover, a guy called Red, wasn't it? And then I didn't manage to bump into him. You know, I know it wouldn't have made any difference, but you never know, do you? And it just really, I couldn't deal with it. And that on top of family bereavements over years, as well as lads, it was like a tipping point, glass overflowing. And I'd ended up getting sectioned. I ended up in this place in Taunton, just outside Taunton, and staying longer. This NHS place, it wasn't right for me, not because we were in there, but it just wasn't right. They tried pumping me through. No, it didn't. No. I mean, you know, I was locked in a cell feeling like a criminal. I mean, that's what they used to do. They don't do it now, I don't think. And this crisis team comes in and fucking monitors you. And it's like, well, what the fuck am I doing? You treat me like a criminal. 24 hours in a fucking prison cell. You know, it's like, I haven't committed a crime. No. And yet you are felt or been made to feel like you committed a crime. So
how's that ever going to help anybody?
Well, yeah, exactly. So it deteriorates your mental health even worse. And, you know, I was led in handcuffs. I hadn't kicked off with anyone or anything. I said to a couple, what are you handcuffing me for?
My safety.
Your
safety.
Yeah, but they want. But this is after 24 hours being escorted to a mental health place. It's like, well, I haven't threatened anyone. I've been let out for a cigarette. I mean, come on. I knew the striper. I was in training with him, the police sergeant. And this copper, I was like, what are you doing, mate? And then they even bollocked him when I got there. It's like, what are you handcuffing him for? It's like, well, I haven't lashed out. I haven't said, I haven't got, generally, I wasn't swearing or anything. And so you were. And then they stayed for a few days, and I stayed an extra few out of goodwill, you know. But even still, there were no rapport, there were no...
You're not going to leave there feeling any different.
They just wanted to put me full of tablets, and so I pretended to take them, but I didn't take them. Because I knew my mind has been through that commando training, it had been through a hard upbringing. I know it can stabilise the chemicals in your brain, and I get all that, I understand how they work. But my brain had been so strength of mind, like, you know, or a state of mind... and strong, and the brain, if it's strong enough to be wounded, it can be healed, and or endured. So I've never even, 13 and a half, 14 years later, even taken tablets, antidepressants to this day. I still believe in the power of coaching. Men being men don't tend to chat deep.
This is happening more now. It's certainly happening more.
Because there's more awareness. And as you know, 2019, 3 lads I knew took their lives. 2019, and one of what's Tel's Tech at 539. Tony Sutcliffe, we're in Power Cadets with. He did, unfortunately, in the April. So you had Bill Oddie in the January, Feb. Tony, I came up to his funeral. Last time I went in that church was my cousin's funeral, 10 years previous. And then Ash.
Yeah.
And I went to 2 of the
That was
funerals,
Saturday.
and I went up to Colwyn Bay to Ash, and and he was Mel B's bodyguard. He was doing well.
And he was always full of morale.
Yeah, well,
I
they were
remember.
bombers anyway,
Yeah.
Ash, but he'd done well after leaving, so.
It
And
shows
I
you
had
though, doesn't it?
messages. I had messages from him. Oh, Rick, how's it going? Literally a year, 11 months before, just randomly got in touch on social media because we all. The good thing of social media is for the lads. I know Facebook's like for oldies and that, but it's keeping in touch with lads who are all around worlds or you work with.
They're all doing their own
different
thing.
way, yeah. But just a random message, and I didn't pick up on it because it was like any warning sign. There weren't any warning signs in it because lads do get in touch with me because of my journey, and I steer them or I'll phone them up in the direction of trusted or good recommended organisations which are there to help. And I've had a lot of coaching. Rock to Recovery used to come up to my house up here in early days of their formation. I'd worked with Jamie Sanderson, Malcolm, their lead coach used to come up. I've done NLP sessions. I've done like the hedonistic approach and residential stays. I've been out on the programme with Andy Shaw, retired, former Major Marines, with his programme, The Mountain Way. And it's meditation and guided reflection, and there's a whole component of what he does, but it's tailored to you as an individual, and a lot I've managed to push out. There's still obviously some things which I'm still trying to deal with. I'm not at my potential yet, and I struggle in. And someone summed it up, and it's: am I still living in the past? As if I'm being in the car. Is my brain still back there?
It's always going to be partly there because it's such a significant
It's
part
ingrained
of life.
in you, mate. It's ingrained in you, but what let go, transition. So it's like I used to have a big family growing up. Once I left and my mum died and no one. I've got my Royal Marines family and my friends who I fought with, my friends from kids and stuff like that. I'm really not expecting to be there. But one or two, which I just thought, well, I've been there for you, not been there for me, but I haven't told them because I don't chat.
Yeah.
But then there's other people who have been there for me, and the lads have really helped to come. They've brought shopping, they've drove over from places. It's like you've been in shit and you don't want to ask somebody for money. It's a personal pride with it. Because it just gets to a point, we're at a point where I couldn't even look after myself.
Yeah.
But I was telling people that I can't look out. I don't know where my brain's at.
I think what you mentioned about like meditation and all this holistic stuff, it can only go so far because once all that stops and you finish your session, you go home and you still feel like everyone's doing so well out there. What the fuck's wrong with me? And that's why the last couple of years, lads that are speaking out, like main names in the industry, especially people from our background and around this sort of area, is when you hear that they were so specialised and their life's professionally really well now, but they're talking about the problems. It makes you realise you're not alone. And the more this happens, like people that are listening to this, the more that happens, it becomes.
Well, it doesn't
more...
matter how successful someone is. I mean, look at actor Robin. What is it? Williams.
Yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, he suicide, and he was a very Hollywood
He was
actor.
a comic
So
genius, wasn't he?
yeah, as well.
Made people laugh, and he ended up.
And he was unique, quirky, was all him. And you've got to remember, you've got to be that. Society's coming on, and I'm not talking about all this LGBTQ and all alphabet. But you should be who you are. Yes, as society's perception, but you've still got to be you. In Marines, I used to do me, but I was obviously I was in an organisation.
We had the family to fall back on, the Marines family. But
it also had the hierarchy of authority and all that. So, but I knew my place. I knew where I was. I knew what progression and stuff, and I had identity. So, recommendations for those who are suffering, and I haven't really done it myself, so I'm not really practicing what I preach. But a club or like the Riders Club and they've got a patch, or like football and rugby, you're a part of an organisation with a common ethos and that togetherness and team. And you've got to try and find that again, because you don't realise some people naturally just progress and they're just smooth, no issues, and they live in the now. So it seems, but they live in the now and not the then. And you've got to remember to live in the now, because you never physically, and this is coaching,
only the now
is past, but I can physically still sometimes, quite a lot, in the past. But I have been through that much trauma. I remember an initial conversation with somebody and I mentioned one sentence and they went, stop, there's 14 different traumas which all need dealing with in just that one sentence. And I went, we haven't even scratched the surface. So it's like they call it the circle of concern, control, and a lot of minuscule issues will dwindle when you work on the major ones and linchpins of triggers and stuff. But what about if you do come out and you don't conform to society, or you can't just deal with normal society, like your average stuff for doctors, dentists, fucking admin. Alright, I know it's all taken care of in the military, but it's just like, it feels like it's mundane, it's routine. We're all like, right, this is 9 to 5, you'll have 3 meals a day, but like civilian street's a bit like that. It's like, no, I'll eat when I want to eat.
I thought a lot about this, and specifically, obviously there's other traumas, like when family members die, but when you're in the Marines, or any elite unit, or any unit for that matter, you achieve, like you were in at 18, I was in at 20, like you were young and you achieve, you earn a green beret at that age, and then it's just an achievement after achievement, aiming after aiming, and you've achieved what a lot of people will never achieve in a lifetime at such a young age, and you're doing that at that pace for years, and then you leave, and it's like you're in a race car and you brake. And then you can't, like you say, you can't rationalise the fact you're in a civilian life and you've not got those achievements to keep hitting.
Well, that's why now, like, the lads who are doing really well, a lot of, Royal Marines are in the media, and rightly so, is they're doing these challenges, and it's like, right, I know it's not trying to outdo each other, but it's like, because it's such high performance and the mind is so powerful, it's not just about the physicality, is they're achieving exceptional stuff. Only a select few do. Now, social media, but the social media now is, we're more aware of what's going on, news is instant, not weeks at a time, or like when I used to deploy early, and it might be, at my early days, it might be a satellite phone and fucking a postcard you'd send, and then a bluey arrived a month later, and you're at a news, because you just didn't have it on an instant, like satellite TV, existed, but how we know it. So communication's a lot easier, but the lads, who were going into the public image, JJ Chalmers presenting, you got Foxy, was being a bootnet, Ant Middleton smashing his side of it, Frank Spencer, Lee Spencer, Roy Marine, smashing it. There's loads of lads, Mark Ormrod, that, absolutely in their bits. And you got to ask yourself, right, their foundations were that, and the mindset has carried them, but it's given them achievements to go and smash it. I mean, I remember trying my challenge with Led for Britain, and that was walking backwards, and you think, fuck me, this sounds crazy. And no, I didn't come up with it whilst having an alcoholic drink. What it was is to do something completely different, which gets awareness. Right, what's going to get awareness? What's different? Well, I could walk it forwards, I could run it. A lot of people have done that. Yes, it'd raise money, but it ain't just about money sometimes. If I raise awareness to you, you might then spread the word, which raises money from your money given or your awareness. So it's like a share, isn't it, on Facebook or social media. You share this, say like, comment, subscribe, share, or whatever. you share it, you're just getting more awareness out, and that's the whole point of it. So I wanted to do something completely which challenged me individually. There's no point doing it if it ain't going to challenge you. So if you're scared of heights and you're going to do a parachute jump, it's challenging you.
Yeah.
Right? Don't do a parachute jump just because you want to do it and then raise some money.
Yeah.
Because people who raise a lot of money get invested in emotionally. So the thing is, and we do it for personal reasons. So like I did it for a marine charity, did it for cancer charity. But the challenges and the lads smashing it is this common thing of ethos and mindset, or a state of mind, and it's how it's approached. It don't matter if you're not professional or anything, you know. So that's the thing. But then with the high becomes a low. It's a roller coaster of life, but these lows can be devastating to the point of it's a black cloud, and when you're in that black cloud,
there's no way out.
No.
You're fucking lost.
No. I mean, seriously. I mean, there were points where I was blacking out because I wasn't eating properly. Sometimes I didn't have money to do that.
You can't escape it. You can't escape the voice in your head either at that point. Like
I didn't want to live, mate. Didn't want to live. I just genuinely didn't want to live. You know, I mean, I hung myself in my garage where I created them coffee holders for you. I just didn't want to live.
I never knew that the first time you've
and
at the same time as you were creating them.
Yeah, multitasking.
I'm not holding on to them then. They got
my left foot.
Negative vibes all over them.
No, negative in my work. But there's.
Oh man, I can't believe that because I came round to pick them up. And
yeah, and then I did I basically adrenaline through art in A&E. I mean, I suffer with my throat now, and you know, it's restricted like puckered hoop. Obviously, I were ill. I were ill, but
where are you now?
The common thing is, I mean, there's a lot going on now. My daughter's mother's just passed away last month, November. So I've got an 8-year-old.
So that's a whole new level of stress for you to deal with now.
It's a stress. It's not stress. I want to, you know, I just want my daughter. I'm a very pick up on vibe and emotions, and I feel sad for my daughter that she's going to grow up with no mum and do all them stuff together with her mum. And she's 8, and yeah, it's Holly, and you know, like I was saying about timings and dates and how the key in and. Is, you know, and she was born on, well, we've got the same birthday, which is cool. And, you know, same with Lockie, same birthday as Lockie. I'm a year older than him. So it's like, but it's like, I'll feel that sadness, but then I've got to give her that love. And I know that, but it's like, I don't know how long I've got, but you've got to live for the now as well, not the then or future. So, my emotions are obviously everywhere because I've got stuff to sort with regarding my daughter. There's a lot to sort out personal wise, but you just think she could be traumatised for life, or am I going to experience a fallout when she's older? Do you know? All right, you can only deal with it when you're older, but it's like, you know, I'm 44, she's 8, you know, so at least I'm mature, I'm not young, you know. It's just I feel sad for her. Well, heart breaks for her, you know. So mum's dead, you know, and it's shocking.
Again, this is just a whole nother thing.
Another thing on top,
and this is life. It's just hitting you all the time with something after something. Yeah. No one's living a perfect life. Yeah. Everyone's got something going on. Yeah. And this is another thing about influencers nowadays, when we were talking about social media before, is you've got so many people out there giving advice.
They haven't been through nothing.
They might have practiced what they preach, but most of them haven't.
No.
And they'll get a following, they'll pick up momentum, and then it'll be... It's almost infuriating from my position, because you're seeing... Yeah, sad.
It's sad who people... Sorry to interrupt you. It's sad who people think, oh, I'll get a camera and do this, and then they're viral, and they're earning all this, and it's like, right, but what were your aspirations as a child? My aspirations, my dream job was Royal Marine. I've done my dream fucking job. I'd have done it for £1 million a fucking month or a penny a month. It didn't matter, you know. And now, yes, there is big money out there, but what life experiences are they bringing to influence my life. I'm not on about shopping or fucking brands. It's the old-fashioned catwalks for.
Yeah.
You know, that's the old-fashioned window shopping.
Or
Come
fancy
and be you,
clothes.
yeah. Or people get sponsored, and it's as if everybody wants to be a celebrity. And it's the same with mental health. It's like, I see it on alt groups, and I see it a lot on the military ones, some of them. And there's a lot, and I'm not going to say genders or all this, and it's like, I've got PTSD, I'm having a bad day, I'm having this. It's like, right, you might have PTSD, you might not. What you're ranting about doesn't suggest you had PTSD from service. You're then throwing it in everyone's faces. I don't give a fuck. I'll give a fuck if you're at a point of taking your own life, because that's what warning signs we're looking out for each other for. Yeah? But what I don't want it thrust in my face because you're labelling yourself.
Yeah.
I've said this before. People label that. I've gone through my mental health struggles real bad. I mean, fucking 2 suicide attempts. You know, really bad ones as well. And I don't know why I'm fucking still living. Obviously, there's a reason.
You got your
But
daughter,
yeah,
Look,
well, there's a reason why I survived. But what I'm saying, Dan, is that I don't go around saying I've got this, I've got that. I've got an official diagnosis through the military whilst in service. All right, and it affected me leaving. I don't blame anyone. I don't blame my service. I don't blame the Marines. It's not anybody's fault. I've had a natural reaction to unnatural circumstances. And when you look at it, you think, well, actually, yeah, so I should. Because otherwise I'd be fucking psychotic psychopath if I didn't have any emotions regarding it. It's just that, or in a man's world, we didn't speak about it. You hear about a couple of lads here and there going off at fucking rails. But, alright, they are fucking wacky anyway. And it's sort of like expected, you know, it's characters. But you go down yourself and it becomes all alien. And it don't feel natural and normal.
Sense either.
You can't comprehend what's going on in your head. Because when you've been so outgoing, bubbly, spring in your step, confident, not arrogant, confident. You get confidence because it's stuff you're doing. You're jumping out of helicopters at 90 foot with just your hands on a rope. That's it. Not your feet on it, not clipped on. Do you know, you're getting confident. You're doing confidence all the time and getting confidence from others. They're shooting over my head, I'm shooting over their head.
And then to go from that.
Doing trust stuff all the time. And then, yeah, so people labelling themselves doesn't make it any better. And I'm talking about a label. I'm not on about like sort of like cancer survivor or something like that. But it's like, be a survivor and not a victim then. Yeah, because that's where the mindset shifts. So when people are in a negative mindset space and you hear it, there's always a problem to every solution, or and not a solution to every problem. And that's the difference between mindset, is how you approach it. Not all. I'm not saying all we go around and go, well, that's shit, but I can fix it. Is this ties back into the success and the lads and everything else, and then the downshift of mental health, so it can be so high and so low. That's why it is. So you go from one thing to the other. Just all I'd say to people, don't label yourself, but there's help for everyone. So I've been through so many different courses of counselling and all treatments other than antibiotics to get to find me. But as I used to say, who is Rick now? Not then, because I ain't fucking Rick then.
Now's all that matters.
They were foundations again. Imagine training, foundation before you got a unit. Right, that was my foundation in life, and what a fucking exceptional one, your dream job. And I travelled fucking world, and I fucking played with fucking weapons and shit, and blew shit up. You know, come on, this is like a little boy's dream. And that war, I used to run around with sticks and build dens and play army and getting silly machine gun noises.
Yeah, and then you grew up and you still did that.
Yeah, and I still do that now with that toy soldier out. But the mental health is becoming better for men speaking. Women do it with a good old chinwag.
But women have done
the
it for
phone.
years.
They do it on telephone.
Yeah. Men are only very recently, it's becoming a mainstream
We tend
something we talk
to
about.
not speak about how we truly feel because it's a pride
Perceived
thing.
weakness.
It's a pride thing, like especially what jobs we did, alpha male status and all this. Look at my great granddad. So Christmas Eve, 1954, 55, can't remember. At my nan and granddad's army barracks, RAF barracks, sorry, gassed himself in 1950s, right? Killed himself. 40 years after, nearly, being a First World War veteran. Do you know, in this war, obviously my great granddad, my mum's dad. And you just think, so PTSD, trauma, it's carried all the way along. And you look at now, we're getting all the fallout of Afghan properly now.
Yeah.
Now, I say properly, it can manifest straight away. Yeah. Mine wasn't
Take
just
years.
from there. Mine was beforehand and manifested, obviously, through all the years, as I explained. And I understand why now. I didn't at the time, like we said, it's alien. And these are the feelings you're going to naturally feel. You just don't want the fuck. But there's warning signs there for family members. And you've got to look out
But
for
even
these.
they can miss it
Yeah,
completely.
we can, but irrational behaviour, aggression, aggressive. I wasn't never aggressive. I turned into a hermit. It could be people excessive drinking, fucking addiction, whether it be sex, gambling, fucking whatever, alcohol, drugs.
Atmospherics out of the ordinary.
Presence are abnormal and all this. So you think you know someone, well, if they've just suddenly started changing, then there's a shift in what they're going on. These are these are warning signs. Get in there, discuss it, and go right. And if you are the person who's doing this, it's easy to go fuck off or oh no, I'm not listening. I'm all right. No, listen. People are just generally looking out for you. It's the manner in which you approach it, though. So, but family members can spot this, and then I'm on about warning signs here. But then there's family members who go through it and they don't know how to treat them, or they try and get them help and they just won't interact. So how do we get past this of you're ill or you're a family member watching someone being ill through depression? How do you shift it? How do you get them the help, and how does that person accept help? These are the topics, and then once they've got the help, where is the aftercare? Because there ain't fucking none. I tell you now that lads' families on my social media who were killed, their mums and dads, all the initial support, all the fucking blah blah blah, fucking everything
slowly.
after they've been killed, and then I speak with people now. I'm going to mention names. No support. Why?
It's out of the media now.
Why?
It's out of the media. It's out of the way. That's what.
The lads trying to keep the memories alive. You're only dead if you're not spoken about.
Yeah.
Or I'm on about in the obviously not physical but the spiritual form. But where's the aftercare for them?
Yeah.
And not on about financial, and I'm on about emotional support.
Of course.
It don't matter if it's a man or a female, the mum or dad, the brother, the sibling. I've got
And
so
certainly
many
there should be
families.
financial. You served the military. You served you served the way for a cause bigger than yourself. There should be financial help for forever. To help the immediate family.
I know the
Should
obviously
be.
initial have a payout, which is fucking no amount of money. Obviously,
It's not life changing.
no amount of money is. It's not about money, is it? It's because you're not ever getting that thing, and they've given ultimate sacrifice. But look at all the people who haven't been military, or men who like other sports stars. They struggle. I know people who've gone and coached, not performance coaching, but just general coaching. When they've had identity, don't matter how many millions or not millions they've made. Whether sports stars, football stars, rugby players, they transition after they've had their careers, because theirs is a short career.
Yeah.
They earn a lot more money, but the mindset is that the money can sustain them to live.
Yeah.
But exist, but not live. Because when you're depressed, you exist. You're not living life. Life should be like, we know a roller coaster, as we said, but So, Unity, team, all this, what have they got after they leave? Unless you go constantly to see the rugby again, or they're going to coaching or whatever, or managing or assistants or whatever, refereeing, I don't know. But it's same. So, aftercare support is a massive one I'd like to look into more. I've mentioned it before. It tends to be the aftercare of the lads, and it shouldn't be that. I'm talking about where you've got an organisation, right? If you've got an organisation, and you just mentioned about influencers, they ain't got no fucking influence on something worldly, and they're trying to talk about it, they ain't going to get interaction, because it's like, what the fuck are you on about? You're still wet behind ears. But if an organisation has got people in there which are known, which have been through their own battles, who are trained, who are they people more likely to open up to? Them. Because there's a rapport already there. Whether you work with them or not, whether from a generation before.
Yeah.
I can go to a Remembrance Parade, see another Greenberry with Royal Marines cap badge, and instantly just chat.
Yeah.
And I've never met them in my life.
Yeah.
I could go and piss with them, they could end up staying, I could stay at theirs.
You got the common ground. And
Yeah.
you're both from a similar mentality, of a similar mindset. You just know you'll click.
Yeah, so there's an aftercare system amongst the lads. It's the lads what tend to do a lot of the signposting. It's a bit easy now. With
You know the
social
sad
media.
thing though, it's stuff like doing podcasts like this, or obviously raising awareness through individuals that have been through their own struggles, that bring it to the establishment and the government, that changes things. They don't think this stuff themselves, even though it's super obvious. You've got people ex-military in the House of Commons, you know, that I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some lads that have stood up, but they don't stand up and go, let's tackle this, because in their minds,
it's all well and good saying, well, we'll put a courtesy 24-hour phone line in, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's been pushed through petition. That's been pushed through fucking the lads in general. This stuff shouldn't have to be pushed. It should be naturally there. Right, you do this. Right, what do we need to create? So it's like there's an incident. Right, it's like, right, I break my leg, I'll fucking get it plastered. Yeah, but who's going to do physio? There's no physio. There's no. That's the aftercare. That's the ongoing rehabilitation. There's not.
Should be procedures in place. It's official procedures in place to help that.
It's not as prolific. It's not as existent. Otherwise, we'd hear about it. But there is also a lot of charities out there, so it can be overwhelming for people. A hell of a lot. But there is help there, and it doesn't matter from getting more and more. We can't. I'm not saying we expect government to provide this, provide that, but you used to work for government. In not a normal job. You trained me to such a high level. Yes, I volunteered for it. Yeah. No amount of training can really get me to carnage. Can't. And if I then have problems, your duty of care as an employer, because that's what you are, the MOD is an employer, is to look after me. Now, whatever that entails.
Not just when you're in service, but...
And they go on about money. You know, a lot of the MOD shit is from fucking bankers' levies and shit like that. So it ain't coming out of the fucking funds. The taxman, the taxpayer. Sorry. So it's like, well, it's as if it's just... But it's got to be evolving. People's needs, people's circumstance, individual, are different. So it's like, right, can we pull all these fucking charities together into one pot and go, right, you've got funding, bankers, levies, lottery, fucking government, whatever, charity donations. Well, let's look at the sectors of what you're covering. Right, can we cover every eventuality for this person to be better? And what price does that take? So could it be cold water breathing, you know? And are you big... champion of that. It could be just the general outdoors physical activities. It could be confident stuff, abseiling again, fucking blah 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 or whatever.
Groups, even weekends. organised weekends.
Yeah.
It's so
Retreats.
simple. So simple.
Yeah.
It
Round
could
of
be
fire.
changed.
Gingham Ghoulie.
That's all guys
Nick Goldsmith's doing that with Hidden Valley Bushcraft with his Woodland Warrior program. You know, it's fantastic, and doing that rewilding and
it's perfect,
Bushcraft.
especially for bootnecks.
Yeah.
And it would be for paras and a lot of other service personnel. That's all you need.
But you've got to try stuff. If you got children, yeah, what do you want them to do in life? You want to expose them to as much activity as you can so they find themselves. What does that do? It creates character, it creates personality, it gives them confidence. Yeah. It helps them grow, it nurtures them. So what do we do to invest ourselves to be outside of our comfort zone? Because that's why we excelled in military, because we were constantly pushed doing stuff outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
But
It became normal. It becomes normal.
but we're not doing it after, or tend to do it after you leave. I'm not on about like money-wise and the financial aspects of it. I'm saying, or even just as adults, what are you doing? So if you take up something new, it's challenging you. So it's like, I want to do dancing. Don't know why, don't ask me. It's to get me confidence, keep a bit of fitness, because I don't do any now. I want to start. I train to such a high level, it's like nice to just get a bit fat. But it's like, it's going to just take me outside of my comfort zone, and I need to break that initial thing and go and do it. Sometimes I don't have the funds or transport to do it. Where do I do? What style do I want to do? But you know what? Just go and do it. So we've got to do stuff. If we're going to be in the past in military, then think in the mindset of, right, I was constantly getting challenged, I was constantly outside of my comfort zone, I was constantly being tested. It made me excel. It brought out the best in me. We think we know our strengths. You don't know your strengths until you are challenged.
Yeah. Exactly. And, you know, it's that putting yourself outside your comfort zone because there's a certain amount of self-help you need. You can't always rely on outside input. You have to. The first step has to be from yourself. And this is why I do the ice bath, for example. I do it every single day. And it's not just to be butch or to do something weird. It's because if I jump out of bed and get in an ice bath, I've done one thing immediately on waking up that's even after about
It's
11 or 12 years,
controlled you,
I've done something I didn't want to do,
Yeah.
something that I still look at the ice when I'm chopping the ice like it was recently last week when I've just been in a warm bath and I'm looking at that. It's freezing outside. I'm already feeling a little bit chilly, and I'm looking at that. I'm still maybe tomorrow, but in my head I'm like, just get in that fucking ice, achieve something immediately on waking up where you've already started your day on a victory subconsciously.
Yeah.
And biologically amazing. There's nothing you could do, breathwork and ice bath in the morning, there is nothing you could do that will baseline all your hormones, fucking dip your cortisol, your stress hormone, and up all your feel-good hormones. That's your serotonin, your oxytocin, your dopamine, everything's shooting up. You're starting the day on a victory with no stress, with feeling great, and no inflammation in your body.
And set up for day as
and,
well.
And
It's
awake.
like,
Yeah.
and like you said with that victory, it's like the old Navy SEALs or US Marine General Officer, whatever it was, Yankee said, you know, make your bed.
Yeah.
And that went viral, you know, and with his speech, and it's exactly the same as you're saying, you're achieving.
Officers make the
Whether
bed,
you want-
normal lads jump in an ice bath.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. British jumping ice baths. Yeah. But, you know, you're starting it off in your control, and you are controlling it. It's like when I used to be coached, and I used to say, you control it, as in your depression, whatever, it doesn't control you.
Yeah.
So signposting and knowing not just your limitations, but I still to this day don't like loud bangs, surprising, frightening surprise bangs. I just don't like it. It goes through my whole fucking body, like literally for a split second. It could last a split second, could last a minute, but I just don't like being surprised. You know, like I'm trying to get used to it with little and again with hide and seek, but you know, or you've got to act surprised. But you know what I'm saying is know your limitations, know your triggers, but also confront them.
Yeah, and constantly push your limitations. You don't want to get too comfortable. You want. I know a few people, some some are very close to me, and they talk about their mental health. Some of them are doing breath work with them, and when we talk about their life, they talk about like what they're eating, the fact they're not training, and if you're not sleeping, not eating, not training, you're doing all this stuff that's not impacting you in a positive way. Of course, on a chemical level, at least, you're going to be down and maybe.
Well, you're existing, you're not living.
Depression. Like, but if you're hitting all the markers, you're eating well, you're sleeping, you're laughing every day, and you're drinking enough water, and you're still feeling terrible, then there's real issues, and then you have to tackle it from a different side.
It's all different, but you can negate a few of the things, or other people can, socialising, that hasn't helped because of COVID situation. So if you've been a social being, or like people had, thankfully we live in a technological age, people could have like Teams or, Zoom or whatever, and do all that video interaction, or FaceTime and everything else. Jesus Christ, what about being COVID back then? And you had 3 channels on telly, 4 maybe, and then 5. It's like, there's a bit of luck, and there's going to be a fallout from it. Never mind just educationally. It's not a bad thing, homeschooling, for those who did get it properly.
I agree with it completely, homeschooling.
But there's also, but schooling in general gives,
my sister had her child young, and she started homeschooling, so she'd already started growing up in that environment, and then when they go to school, they're like, it's all new, it's all different.
Yeah. They do tend to say, like, even those who've gone to private nursery, is it very, from 1 years old, tend to be more sociable statistically in school than what those who didn't. And I was speaking with people before about that, but there's, it's just, you just got to keep, they say it, don't they, just investing in yourself. But what is invested in yourself? Well, it's shaking it up, it's trying new things. It's no different with stuff I create. I have testers and people don't see it. I'm creating, I make mistakes, or I'm learning, or trying new technique, because I'm finding myself all the time.
Yeah.
I'm rediscovering, I'm reinterpreting. I get influence from stuff and I put a Rick spin on it.
You're always changing. Like your whole life, you're going moment to moment. What traumatic experience to good experience to every direction, you're constantly moving in different paths. You're changing all the time.
Well, we are now as a species, or human beings now in this generation, because gone are the days where people stayed in a job for life, and they were worried if they left and all this. So it's like, oh, what's a CV? And it's like, oh, what's a job interview? I haven't had one since I was 16, and they've been in the same job all the working career.
Exactly.
Now, people are not bothered about this is how we, society is. They don't care if they leave because it's detrimental to their career. There's a lot more job opportunities out there, but there's a lot more people. There is, and people have got to remember that because they get emotionally attached to work. They think, oh, yeah, well, they didn't get me, or they didn't. It's not they don't care. No, when you're working for them, you're making them fucking money.
That's all they care about.
Exactly. That's the whole point of being in business, to make money. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. Why would you put yourself through all the stress of fucking owning or running something? So it's like, are you a worker, or are you a leader, or are you an owner?
And that can also be another level of stress when you go from being a leader, serving, to a normal job, and you're no longer in that position.
Yeah, unless you chose that. So you can get lads who've
sometimes it might be the only
invested well early in the career, house, more bricks and mortar. They've then got to the 22, 25, 30 year point they've done, they leave, and they only need a part-time job. The pension's paid for it, the mortgage is paid off. What do they need? They just need a bit of fucking spends, some beer tokens. So people can choose to downgrade like that if they want, and with no responsibility. It's like, well, I've done all that shit, fuck that, someone else can have it. But at the same time, when you're a natural manager, it's not to look at someone else and they're doing a job and you think, I can piss that. No, and genuinely you can piss that. Or, I would do it this way, but it's like, yeah, but you've got to remember you're not doing that job, but at the same time it's easy for us to look at them and just go, why are you doing it like that? That's just like, because you've got a thought process which has gone through so many critiques and hurdles and fucking shit and everything else, and you've been critiqued, and it becomes to short, sharp and direct. It can't work for everything, you know. We've got to remember that in civilian world. It doesn't always necessarily be a plus, you know. It's not a plus in that side, but other stuff where you make executive decisions. The reason why we make strong executive decisions and it's done and it's fucking communicated very clearly and easily is because it has to be immediate, because there's consequence of action if not. But then that can happen in construction. I mean, when I was doing it, what there were in major companies, we're not talking like Joe Bloggs builders. There are over 50 deaths a year in construction.
Oh yeah, well I work in...
That's more than military.
Similar industry.
Smaller military. You know, so it's, I think it was, when we were doing stats at the time. And then obviously if you go through injury pyramids, you know, with riddles and everything else and near misses and minor injuries and all that, major injuries, you know, it pyramids down.
Yeah.
So
it's a constant roll of potentials.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just for time, let's move on and let's talk about your project you're doing now. I've got some examples here. So what created this artistic sort of thing?
Yeah, well, we're out on Mountain Way program with Andy Shaw and I'd done woodworking and stuff, and he just
because when we worked together in the Corps, I didn't know I totally were into this sort of stuff.
No, and I'd done little bits, you know, my patrol stuff, or good sketches and everything else, and he said to me, "Have you ever tried sculpting?" And I thought, no, I haven't tried it, but I'll give it a go. And I'd done woodworking and a bit of sketching on there, and I'd done art at school a bit. And so we got some clay, and it was basically to bury one of my demons. So I created a poppy. They were a bit different, and I wrote all my feelings on the petals. And we buried it up at this mountain called Salvaguardia. It's 9,000 feet. So I put it on the summit there, and it's stood still up there in a Tupperware box. And it had some earthing which I'd brought back from Afghan on our tour from HLS at FOB Jackson. So I sculpted it, and then we've now got to this where, it's just a handcrafted poppy. It's got sand in. I collect all sands and earths from all around the world. That's got my blues #1 uniform button in. I do it with normally a blazer button. And it's just like a little memento and operationally. So that one's got Sierra Leone sand in. There's others around. I've got over 70 different earth and sand. So we started doing that, and then I had a poppy. I created the poppies, and sand and earth gets sent to me from all over, whether it be from since World War II, First World War, major battles. It can be American, British, New Zealand, Australian, Canadian, whatever, Commonwealth.
I'll put photos in the description with the sound. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then I refine them, try them out, and people send, and they got some good celebrity support as well. So, you know, there's people like Will Carling, Chris Ryan, Foxy, Jason Fox, Damien Lewis, to name a few. And then I thought, I had a poem written for business as well. She's done one for King Charles now, as he were, Prince Charles then. And
this,
timer. So personalised timer, which a timer 2 minutes, And so obviously this one's got my details, like service details, and then
that
regiment.
is beautiful, that.
And then it's just kiln-dried sand, and then just earth sprinkled in of operational areas and sand.
And you can pick whatever sand you want for that.
Yeah, for ones I've got in collection. I'm collecting them all the time.
Idea.
And it's timed exactly to 2 minutes. And so they call this the conflict timer.
I love the global laurel on the top.
Yeah, so I just got a shine off at light, but and then just my personal details on bottom.
Again, we'll put some pictures.
But yeah, so I retail them, and I've sent them around world. And
I love them. I didn't know you did them. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it took a lot of sourcing and stuff, and obviously I get it all engraved with this and glue them on myself, and then I hand time each one and put the earth in. It's got to be kiln dried sand to allow for steady pour.
Yeah.
It can't just be the earth or sand because it wouldn't flow correctly. So 120, 120 seconds to remember, 2 minutes silence, and that's what it does. And it's just a nice little keepsake, or even a family member.
Yeah.
I love it. So do that.
And then you've got the physical
doing the art. So this is just obviously Falklands jumper, and I've just done ink sketch. So I started drawing.
I like the way you say I've just done, and it's like I look at it like that's pretty impressive.
Well,
and you say I just knocked it up.
Well, this is like just doing ink sketches.
This isn't for sale, by the way. This is for me.
Yeah,
this is my one.
Dan's getting that. And it's infamous Falklands jumper, but it's just an ink sketch. And I started drawing about 2 years ago now, and I thought I'd just give it a go, and then I'll try different mediums. So doing like watercolour and everything.
You're taking
else.
people's pictures as well, aren't you? And
I have done, a couple of people, and then these with Falklands. So I then started drawing with the actual earth and sand. So I collect the earth and sand to dry out. So this one's obviously it's just a brief one; it ain't quite finished. But so this one's two sisters from Battle of Two Sisters from Falklands. So and it was 4-5 Commando who did that.
That's fantastic.
So it's just a third pattern knife and with 4-5 logo. So that's that one. I've got sand and earth from everywhere, and it's just in a frame.
It's cool.
In a frame, art always looks better. And then this one, obviously, Royal Marines Commando Ethos, so it's got the United We Conquer Commando Memorial.
That's fantastic.
That's all sand and mixture of sand and earth, and then soil wash in between. So you've got the Acna Carry. A Commando Memorial on the left because that's when the Commandos first formed, and then Commando now and modern day. So it's 80 years apart, but that earth and sand is a mixture of all the Second World War battle sites the Commandos took place in, including the very first one, which was Operation Claymore in Lofoten raid in Norway, and then the soil from Acna Carry where they trained, whereas this one's got all the sands and earths from World War II onwards, and then it's got the soil from the training centre where the Royal Marines are now. So there's personal relevance to them, and I mix them up, and then for this one I did a wash in between. So I do a whole manner of different stuff. I've done wildlife with elephants, with Asia and Africa, sand and earth. I've done a lot of stuff. I've got Pegasus Bridge. I've got all D-Day landing spots. I've got all Falkland key battle areas. I've got Basra, Baghdad, other locations in Iraq. I've got Syria, Iwo Jima, where Mount Suribachi, infamous flag raising at US Marines.
I mean, you can see the passion when you're doing it. But what's it done mentally? What's having this passion?
I draw and paint when I'm emotional. I don't just draw for the sake of it. Yes, I've had.
You can see there's more to every job that you've shown me.
Some are abstracted, some are detailed. I just challenge myself with it, but I'm trying to do memorial art or representing people's service with. You feel it from here, you see it on the paper, but it's also unique, and people want art what's unique and reflects them, but this is no one doing it world with what I'm doing with the earth and sands from the and these sands and earths from the battle areas down. It's people other than the one I originally collected and started off with, the Afghan one, and I've got over 70 as I said, is they've all got a story. So I'm carrying their stories. So it's like I've got a bottle of sand which were presented to a D-Day veteran who landed with 4-1 Commando, and the mayor's wrote on it for 60th anniversary, and I've shown you that earlier, and then his son sent me it because he wanted some poppies doing with it. I've got earth sent to me, and I've done the poppies of a guy who landed at Pegasus Bridge in number 3 glider from the exact spot he landed from Blackpool, had his arm shot and subsequently amputated, won Distinguished Flying Medal, and he captured Pegasus Bridge in a matter of minutes. 12 minutes after midnight. And took him, however many minutes to capture it. So there's all these, I collected one from Anne and myself, Ukraine, Auschwitz, I've got to remember Holocaust. And then, one at Falklands ones I've got, he was part of the naval party holding the defence from the initial invasion. Gibraltar Sand from Royal Marine, he's rode Atlantic and smashed able-bodied record. And Gibraltar's, synonymous with Royal Marines Battle Honour. So there's all these different earth and sands from all over the world, and I'm just so thankful to people taking time to collect them, you know.
Yeah, I think they're amazing. And if you'll let me, I want to buy these 3 because I love these. These will look amazing in the house. I absolutely love this one, and the 4.5 is obviously super relevant.
It's different, isn't it?
You can see not just the effort, but you can see the emotional content and the fact that of the content of the sand is
it's like that one I've wrote on back there, that one.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So I've wrote on back of that one.
Made with the earth from the 2 sisters. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. They'll be going framed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just A3, and then that's a perfect A4. So it's A4, and then A3 mount will go on inside. It just needs pressing flat. But
Yeah, no, it definitely.
I've done Commando Memorial, just the heads. I've done full one with it. Just the heads, the 3 heads, I really love. I've just done 2 before Christmas, and I've done one before as a serving major who got the first one off me. And I'd done this on behalf of Royal Marines charity. I don't know why, because at Commando 80, but I called it Men of the Glen. You know, and this is just Commando 80. I'll sign this.
I'd like to. I'll be there next week.
No, it's signed there actually. Signed there.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up there, Rick. Actually, because of the time, and we'll go and have a catch up.
Yes.
Should we?
Yeah, and we'll just have a bit of whiskey and say
shot glasses.
Cheers, lad. We both used to work with. What whiskey?
Cheers.
Oh wow! Woo! Cheers, buddy.
Jesus. Thanks, Rick. Episode 1. Awesome. That.